and welcome to IJDM. I don't know if this will be a quick take or whatever, but tonight is Friday night? No, it's Saturday night. So we're hanging out at the Retro Tiki Bar, just kind of taking a look at a few things. And it's Florida, it's summer, it's hot, there's bugs, and plenty of fireworks. So please bear with me on that. I just wanted to get out of the house because the birds are doing their normal thing. So we're talking about ThinkPads today, and we can open this up. And I'm going to do this very carefully. I'm going to try to illustrate what you should do with an older IBM is kind of support the back part and the screen at the same time. And I'm going to explain that in about 2 seconds. This is, as you've seen in some of my other videos, an IBM ThinkPad 365 XD. It's one of my most treasured ones. It was in beautiful shape. I've had some issues trying to find the OEM floppy drive, so I managed to piece together with different laptops and get that in there, because I really don't use CD-ROMs on this channel. Someday I'll explain that more, but for now we'll just leave it as it is, that if you do have one to donate that fits a 365 XD series, that's the proper one with the mounts and everything, I would love to have one. Keyboard has been restored, actually thrice now. I don't know why these keyboards keep going bad, but they feel great and they type great, and everything works. Screen is beautiful on it. I'm gonna save something till a little bit later on. Well, you know what? I always say that, and everybody says, "Yeah, you know what? Later we're gonna." You know, look at this. Yeah, you see all those lights go on? That is 1960 Star Trek right there. All those cool lights and stuff. But this computer obviously was in the 1990s. But yes, the battery still works on this machine. Yeah, there we go. I was gonna have to stop down. I'm like, why didn't the screen turn on? It very well could have been because last time I shut this laptop off, I may have not done it properly, and sometimes it does wonky stuff with the Windows 95 install, which I mainly use for DOS. But yes, the battery still works in this laptop. Wow, I mean, there it is. It's working. It's great. I mean, it lasts. It used to last for about 45 minutes when I first got it. Now it's lost most of its life. I can get 5 minutes or I can get 15 minutes maybe max out of it now. But overall, nice laptop. Going to carefully close this because I just repaired the Hinge thing. It was upsetting, and I know the light isn't the greatest when I do these at night, but I noticed the other day that this hinge part is starting to crack around the screen, and I just saw it was bulging a little bit. So this one might just be kind of one of those ones I leave open all the time, or maybe try to figure out maybe putting some more support right here. But that is the evolution of these laptops. These were nice form factors. They were nice and square and boxy. They had plenty of inputs and outputs. If you want to see more about that, I've covered them in other videos, but if there's a demand for it, I can do them. But I did re-glue this and worked on it, but it doesn't seem to be holding. And then I have another problem in this corner. But the hinges were always a weak part on these laptops, and this is the 300 series. But IBM made another series of laptops that were a little bulkier but came out around the same time, and this one's a little predating this one, and does have that stupid rubbery thing, which I managed to clean the heck out of it using different solvents and stuff, and it's not really sticky at all anymore. It's not much stickier than this one is. I mean, they use anybody collects retro tech knows that sticky stuff is just nasty. And I said, stop doing it. And they're still doing it to this day. It's like, stop doing it. But I think this lid had some kind of metal thing, because the hinge, in most part, is holding up well. And this one doesn't have an active battery, but this is the 755 CD series, geared more toward professional. And you could tell it had actual metal in it, where the other one over here was mostly plastic. And again, you do have problems with the hinges because the supports just weren't great on these things, sadly enough. And I would like to keep this, but it needs a BIOS update, which, if there's a way to bypass that, I'm not really sure. It requires the battery being present in it, and the battery I have is completely dead, and it's an aftermarket on top of that, I think. But moving on from these two laptops that came from the late 90s, let's go more into the 2000s. Maybe, I'm going to guess 2005-06. So we're going to jump ahead a few years. So this was, to me, and I still consider these the grail of the golden era of ThinkPads as far as build construction. There was a few flaws and plastics that didn't hold up, but I mean, stuff gets brittle as this stuff gets older. But here's the biggest change you're going to notice on the hinges: better support. Better support means your hinges aren't going to break. Not to say they wouldn't, but they definitely help the situation where if I open this one up, I don't feel like I have to support anything. It just opens and it's fine, and it moves totally freely, but it's also supports the screen in whatever position I want to put it in. Which, if you ever own a certain types of laptops, you realize the ThinkPads were notorious for one thing. That was the thing that you could bend the screens almost all the way back, which I'm not recommending that on older ones. And this one, I know the question's going to be asked, so I'll answer it now, and let's just do it now. Does the battery work? Well, did I hit that long enough? Well, the answer to that as of this point is no. Apparently the battery is not working on this one, even though I did just see a flash right there. So the battery might have just, oh, maybe I'm not waiting long enough. Well, I just hit it and I saw a flash on the hard drive. Maybe this one just takes a sec. There it goes. Yeah, so battery does work on this one. I'm pushing things a little too fast, I guess, sometimes on some of this older tech. The keyboard, shorter throw on the switches, and I just made it mad. Shorter throw on the switches, but they still feel decent, and still a decent ThinkPad. This one's got a little bit of wear on the thing, but this is part of the T60 series that came out. I'm gonna, don't quote me, but sometime between 2003 and 2006, I'm gonna place this one. And the indicator lights on this one for some reason just don't work. It may be some piece of software I need to install or something with a BIOS update. Not really sure. Not really sure why it didn't totally boot up right now, because this is loaded with XP Service Pack 2 or 3, I think. But that is this one, and we're just going to shut that down because we're not really playing with these tonight. We're just kind of doing a demo, but this one feels solid. I feel happy carrying this around even to this day in my backpack or whatever, because these things are a little more readily available. It still has an original spinner drive on it, but that's okay. I mean, no, wait, I did replace this with a solid state, so it does have a solid state drive. I have to correct myself sometimes because I'm thinking of one of the other ones. So we'll put this one to the side for now and move up, let's say, another 10 years into what evolved. Well, you're going to notice a few things right away, because on all of these, they all have the ThinkPad logo, the infamous ThinkPad logo with the IBM in red, green, and blue on all these earlier ones. This one post-dates that, where Lenovo was taking over and just calls them ThinkPads now, and for some reason put the logo the opposite way. I guess because you would carry it, they want you to carry it that way as opposed to this way. Not really sure why they turned the logo the opposite way. And it does have that nifty little red light that glows when the thing's on standby. But this one decked out with ports. But I honestly gotta say, between the one I just showed over here and this one feels more solid. It feels like there's metal in this thing. Well, this thing definitely feels more plastic, but it's, I'd say, a better plastic than the other one. But again, there's those metal hinges ever present. Maybe they're made out of whether you call them aluminium or aluminum. Might have helped. I guess that's what they are. Or maybe that's just the bracket that covers them. Maybe they're just regular metal underneath. But this one fires up perfectly fine. It is actually running Windows 10, and this is an AMD A10. It's part of the E555 series of ThinkPads with the widescreen and so forth, which is still usable today. I've actually been using this just sitting around my couch watching TV or whatever. I want to look something up. So, and I actually got 2 of them on a donation, so I cleaned them up and wiped the hard drives and reinstalled everything. And I actually upgraded the RAM to 16 gigs on this one and 8 on the other from the stock 4 that was in there. So running great. I mean, with a solid state, these things are definitely still very much usable. Some things are sluggish, some things are not. But that is one of the, well, I was going to say that's it, but I almost forgot to say this also, between the periods of the one over here and this one, is when they went to the 16:9 screens. And it's not really 16:9, I think, strictly. It's just a wider aspect, kind of like a 1280. No, not even 1280. It's up there anyways, with the resolution being wide like it is. And still a lot of things were the same with the way they built things. Accessibility, the ports, I mean, they moved around a little bit. This one actually still has an optical drive installed on it. So this very much is still a usable computer, and very much of the time of nowadays, even though I know they've gotten thinner and smaller again. Which, on one last interesting note, if I kind of put these to the side, I mean, that isn't really much thinner than this one. In fact, they rounded some edges, but who cares about that? I mean, I kind of like the sharp edges better. I think it makes it look more like a laptop, and this makes it look more like they're trying to copy. Why are you copying back? Do your own thing. I don't know. But anyhow, that is a little brief evolution of ThinkPads. And yeah, I could predate even these two right here with a couple others of IBM stuff into their notebook or laptop series. But the cost of getting one of these in the original, they weren't even called ThinkPads, but the original laptops they had that were white, that are a very limited series. I believe Nostalgia Nerd featured one of them on his channel, which was very cool, and probably used a similar keyboard and similar structure to this, but it was definitely bigger and it was white. Anyhow, if you like this video, then be sure to hit the subscribe button. We have plenty of other videos where we actually dig into this stuff, take it apart, play around with it, just hang out and talk about retro tech. If you have any comments, be sure to leave them, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.